host, Cash Money Morgan. You guys, it's been a minute. First of all, thank you for letting me take a week or two off. You know, mentally I was going through it a little bit, and we had some complications with the guests, but we are good to go. Went to church camp, which that's all going to be in the solo pod. You know, I had to sample my boy Gavin, the solo pod, white chocolate. So definitely mark your calendars for that. That's going to come up soon. But without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to my amazing guest, Hannah Reuter. Woo! Hannah, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Welcome to the pod, Hannah. What are your thoughts on the loft?
I love the loft. I love the view. I love the company. I love the host.
Oh my gosh, stop. The loft loves you.
All of it's amazing. The vibes are good. The sun is like peeking behind the buildings. Everything is perfect. It's all setting up to be a huge smashing episode.
Huge smashing episode. The vibes are good. Hannah's outfit is so bright, just like her mind. So it's going to be a great
I'm blushing.
vibe.
We have the same outfit structure that we didn't even realize. We walked in and it was like that Spider-Man meme where we're like pointing at each other.
Yes.
we both have white sneakers on, baggy like cargo style pants, and a tight little shot like
Yes.
What do I say? Tank top.
Streetwear, leading the streetwear.
Yeah, absolutely.
We love it. So just to get in a few updates before Hannah and I really get into everything. So Hannah, I'm gonna say it on our episode. I'm not gonna save it for the solo pod because I literally am so excited about it.
Do it, girl.
You guys, I officially have a studio.
Woo.
But she's not set up yet. She's still in the construction phase. So because you listen online, I'm telling you, but also patience is a virtue because I don't know when I finally get to be in it yet. But I'm excited about it. Yeah. It's a long story, and I'll probably get into it in the solo pod, so you're really going to want to check that one out. But yeah, I had to share it. Thanks for letting me share it, Hannah.
Of course, it's huge. I'm so excited to see it. I can't wait.
I can't wait either.
We'll have to run it back when you get to the studio.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Round two, for sure.
Round two, for sure. So everyone, welcome to Hannah. Hannah's episode. Yeah, welcome to Hannah. I'm just kidding. Welcome to her episode. So, you know, and if you hear the background noise, you guys, obviously we're still in the loft vibe. So
life doesn't stop when we podcast,
beautiful.
Unfortunately.
It's Live, Laugh, Love, Springfield, Missouri. Like, you're not going to get anything more authentic in the
this
moment
is real,
than that.
yeah.
This
Raw.
is real. This is real. This is me. Sorry, guys. The ADHD is kicking. We're like midweek right now.
Oh, we got that hump day slump.
It's a 5.5. Anyways, the way that Hannah and I met is actually in a really interesting way. Hannah, do you want to tell our people how we met?
So we actually met the same way that I met my husband, which is via Instagram, DMs.
I was going to say with Eiffel Tower, Starry Night. No, I'm just kidding.
Very similar, but Instagram it brought me most good things in my life, which is such a Gen Z thing to say, but I mean, we'll talk about my career and everything later, but we met, I've known who you were for a long time, like just through Instagram, and I always thought you had a really like cool presence online, but we just weren't connected.
Thanks, bro. Same. Like, I literally heard of her like a year ago, but we just never...
Yeah, I remember seeing your podcast party, your year party, and I was like, that is really cool.
What? Stop.
But we just didn't know each other, and then finally we got connected, and we were just like messaging back and forth over different things, like sick outfit, like just random stuff, and then I was like, do you want to get dinner? Because I feel like we're the same person.
Yeah.
And then we did, and we talked for like 3.5 hours.
We really did, and it wasn't enough time.
No, it would have gone on for longer, but you had some work stuff the next day, and you had to actually like do productive things like after the meal.
That's right.
Otherwise, we could have talked for a lot longer.
For real. And Instagram, I always say, like, I feel like Instagram and LinkedIn are such amazing, like, dating apps / networking platforms. Yeah. I'm like, hey guys, want to get dinner? Hey, want to grab coffee? Hey, want to like talk about careers? Like,
for sure,
guys. Those are the apps.
Instagram, like, I will say this until the day I die. Instagram has brought me most good things in my life. It's very weird.
Hey, rock on. I mean, TikTok's doing that right now for a lot of people. So that's
exactly
amazing. So Hannah, you're doing amazing things. If you know you're in Springfield, you've probably heard of Hannah. Maybe you've seen her. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about like your current roles and how you got to Springfield.
So I am from Springfield. I'm from Nixa, actually, which is like 20 minutes south of Springfield. Yeah, go Eagles! So I graduated from Nixa in 2016, and I went to Missouri State for like a year, not even. But I was working full time. So I was majoring in finance because I worked in finance at the time. I was working in commercial lending, and it was like a natural progression into my finance degree. Very boring. I just wanted the security in my job. So I was like, you know what's always going to be around? Money and banks and everything else. So I had no interest in it, but I wanted to have like a very secure future. So I majored in finance, graduated pretty quickly. I ended up transferring to an online college called Western Governors University, which is meant for students who are on like an accelerated path and not necessarily like drawing out college. So everything is very competency based and test based. And I've always been a good test taker. So basically if you can pass.
Wow, we're like so opposite in that aspect.
I mean, I have been like, memorizing comes easy to me. I wouldn't say I'm a good learner, but I'm a good memorizer. So the way the college is set up is if you can pass the final, you can pass the class. So I transferred to this school and I finished my degree whenever I was 19. So then I was just out in the world with my bachelor's degree, and I did not intend to do anything else outside of finance for a long time. And I kind of stumbled into marketing, which I can get into if you want me to do that. But I stayed in Springfield because my whole family is here. My mom, dad, aunt, uncle, both sets of grandparents, my brother, like everyone is here. And it's just such a weirdly close-knit family that I don't want to leave. I always thought I could travel, but I thought if I left, I would feel like I was missing out on something, you know? Mm-hmm. So I stayed.
For sure, for sure. That's super cool.
And then I met my husband, and that was another reason I stayed.
Yeah. We love that. So talk about your current, job right now.
My whole shtick?
Yeah.
So
you have a lot of roles. Hannah wears a lot of hats, and she slays in all of them.
Oh,
so let's start getting into the hats you wear.
So I run a social media management company called Hannah McClellan Media, which if I would have known what role this company would take on, I would have named it something a lot more snappy than just my name and media. But whenever I was still working in finance, I had a chance to take on a social media campaign. And in order to get paid for the campaign, they wanted me to set up this LLC. So I had a business account to put the money into. So I made my logo, made my little business Instagram, and filed for an LLC and everything. And I had no idea it was going to be anything besides like just a means for that one job. So I did all of that, and then I kind of got to a point where I was like, this is pretty easy. Like, I really enjoy doing this. And it was actually for a city council campaign. And it was so interesting to me that there were these amazing, like, bright minds, these businessmen that knew so much about politics and city planning and everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do you post on Facebook? So it kind of opened my eyes to this niche that they had. And I ended up just saying, if I have this LLC and this business account and everything else, I might as well lean into it. And I kind of felt like it was probably a little prompting from God, but at the time I was just unfulfilled in my job.
Yeah.
And I was, I was dating my husband, but we weren't engaged or anything yet. So I was just kind of coasting through life. There wasn't anything really crazy happening. So I ended up messaging a bunch of people, cold calling, got no results. And then finally I had like one person that took a meeting with me, and I ended up making her this like super elaborate pitch kit. She said yes. And I had this like fire ignited. So once I had that one person that was like, yeah, I'll sign up with you, I was like, this is it. And I was off to the freaking races. I couldn't stop. And I was messaging like tons of people at my day job, which I shouldn't have been doing. And then eventually got to a point where I had enough clients that I knew I could do something with it, but I didn't have enough to really support myself. But I also knew that I didn't have enough time to take on more clients because I had a full-time job. So I got to this like weird pivotal point of like, okay, I could stay here and do this as a side hustle, or I could quit and try and make it a full-time gig, but also that's not really the responsible thing to do. And there's a whole, like, there's a million other layers. We've talked about these before, but long story short, I ended up quitting my job, and that was 2 years ago in May. So,
wow. Yes. Woo! Congratulations. That is so awesome, and yet I just can understand how that can be so terrifying.
It was so scary. It was, honestly, I look back on that and I know that God was working in my life, because I wouldn't make that same choice today. Like, if I was faced with that exact same decision in the same circumstances, I don't know that I would have leapt out of the boat. Like, I think that looking back, I would have had my rational brain take over and been like, you paid for a degree, you finished school, you got this finance degree on purpose to have security. Why are you trying to go do something in social media, like the most flighty part of marketing? It doesn't make any sense. But I know that that's where I was supposed to be in that stage of life, because the sense of peace that I had about it, and just the way that I was like, you know what? I can always get another job. If this crashes and burns, like, I'm only supporting myself. It's just me. I can go find another job at a bank. So I kind of had that like fallback plan, if you want to call it that. But it was also important to me to take the leap before I got married, because I knew that if I quit my job once I got married, everyone would only ever attribute my success to my husband.
Interesting.
And they would only think that, oh, well, she quit her job because he must make a lot of money, or he must have this or that. So it was always important to me, one, because I didn't want him to face like the financial detriment if I failed. So I was like, I have to do this now so I know if it's going to work out or not before I put this on him. But also, I didn't want to all of a sudden, oh, she got married and then she quit her job and she's doing social media. I'm sure it's really successful.
Yeah.
And not that you should make decisions based on what other people think, but it was more of a pride thing for me. Like, I know I can do it on my own, not just because somebody else is also paying my bills, you know? So that was why it was very important to me to do it.
So what was the final thing where you were like, at your day job, you had the side hustle, like what was that final thing that was like, do it? Like what convinced you to just like step out and do it?
It's hard to even say. There were a lot of different things that kind of pushed me in that direction, but it was really just that feeling of now or never. Like, if not now, like when am I going to do it? So, because it's only going to get more complicated for me to go out on my own. I'm going to have a husband and a mortgage. Eventually I'll have babies. Like, who knows what's going to happen in the future? But right now, whenever I quit my job, I think I was 22. Yeah, I was 22. So I was like, I want my whole life. Like, if this crash, like if this fails, this will just be like a little tiny like footnote in my life. So it doesn't matter. Versus if I were to wait, you know, until I'm 32 with a family, like you can take a lot fewer risks at that point in your life. So I kind of just got to that point, and we had gotten engaged by then, and I was like, it's a coming, like I got to do it now or not ever do it. So I just prayed about it, and I talked to everyone in my life, and everyone was kind of the general consensus. Like, I had been pretty responsible up to that point. Like, I had paid off my car, I had paid off my college, everything. So I was pretty conservative with my money. So I had the luxury of like some savings, not a lot, but enough that I could like, you know, be okay for like a month. So and when I quit my job, I was like, well, I'm kind of back into a corner now, so I better get to work. And then after that, I was just like completely busting my butt for months until I felt like I got to a good point where I was like consistent. I had enough contracts that I felt good.
That's amazing.
And just didn't slow down.
That's amazing. No, Hannah's absolutely killing it right now.
Thank you.
She was just telling me about like, this is my day to day, this is everything, and it's amazing. It's so inspiring that you're doing that to like such a young age. Okay, because like how old are you? Like, to my people.
24.
24, you guys. We're 24 girly pops. This episode's gonna be deep, but also girly pop. So
everything, you know,
we're just gonna unload. We're multifaceted. We're gonna unload. We haven't done an episode like for the girls in a minute, so absolutely.
This is the one. This is
the one you've been waiting for. So, okay, Hannah's also a podcast host. Do you want to plug that bad boy?
Yes, thank you. So our podcast is called Our Non-Toxic Podcast. We're trying, my co-host Brie and I.
Obviously, that's not this one. Okay.
No, it's not this one. But
a little toxic over here.
Hey, ours is like a little bit ironic. But the whole thing started because she was actually my injector. She's the one who does my Botox. So amazing. She's the reason I don't have a wrinkle right here. But we were talking, and we were just having this consistent conversation about how we could get our lives to detoxify, like in every way. Like, spiritually, in our social lives, every way. And then we were like, we should start a podcast. You know how I know you know it's because you have a podcast, but it's always like that. This is a good conversation. We should have a podcast, and we actually just did it, and we couldn't come up with a good name, and we wanted it to be something with like a pun on tox, because Botox. So then we were like, what about like non-toxic? And then we just couldn't. It didn't sound very snappy. So I was like, what if we just make it like a weird like fourth wall thing? Like, this is Our Non-Toxic Podcast. Like, that's the name of it. So
I think it's amazing.
On Spotify, it's Our Non-Toxic Podcast.
Guys, check it out.
Thank you.
Podcast Queens, supporting podcast queens. And it's funny because I've been having this podcast for like almost a year and a half, and you're kind of on the same timeline too, right?
You've been doing it for longer than us. We started in October of last year. So, but we do
2022.
Yes, and we do weekly releases. I think that's the only reason that we're similar. Weekly releases. So, but you've been doing it for longer than me.
But every other Friday.
Yes.
Besides that 1 week.
Girl, life happens.
No, but it's honestly super encouraging for me because like, how often do you get, like, meet someone that is on the same like belief page as you, fashion, hustle, and you both have a podcast like in the same area. Like, God was like, it's about time you guys like
we're just like
became friends.
We're each other from the multiverse. Like,
we really are.
Amazing. I love it.
Amazing. Well, let's continue to get into it. You know, Hannah, you mentioned you're a wife.
Yes.
And she's 24, and she didn't go to Evangel, so that's like a little interesting.
I'm a child bride.
We love it. So do you want to just like briefly talk about like how that happened or whatnot?
So for some backstory, I did not want to get married young. I was actually like adamantly against it because I was like, I'm gonna live my life, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And I had been in a pretty like long-term serious relationship throughout all of high school, like this standard first love, like everything. And it was one of those things that whenever we broke up, my friends were like, I don't believe in love anymore. And
dang,
you grow up and you realize like, okay, that was a little dramatic, but you're just young and no one really knows any better. So we had just been dating for a super long time, and we really did grow up together. And I think that it was the perfect first love in that it was safe and it was so many good memories. I was very happy, but we were so incompatible long term. And it would have been one of those things where if I would have married that person, one of us would have always been sacrificing part of ourselves.
Yeah.
Either he would have been unhappy with parts of me that he had to like alter himself to to acquiesce to, or vice versa. Like, we would always have to be catering to the other person. We were so different. So
and can we just pause on that really fast? Like, to my listeners, especially to like the younger girls.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, we understand there's compromises in relationships, there's compromise in marriage, but when it comes to like knowing the call of God in your life, or like knowing your dreams and passions, and your person that maybe you're interested in and you're dating
For sure.
is so far from that, or like is insecure of your dreams and passions, or not confident, like that's not the right relationship.
Exactly.
Like, you should complement each other and be pushing each other towards success.
Yes, exactly,
you know?
exactly. Well, that was the hard thing for me, is that I was not, like, there was nothing wrong with the relationship.
Yeah.
No one was cheating. It wasn't bad. There was nothing wrong with it. I just knew there was more for both of us, and it kind of like, these weird things kept bothering me more and more, where I was like, okay, if I could do my perfect day, he would be miserable the whole time. And if he could like design his perfect day, I would be miserable the whole time. Like, of course I would enjoy being with the person that I was dating, but you can't build a life on that. And we had just such glaringly obvious like differences in our personalities and all of that. And I just knew that there was someone better for both of us. And it was, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm so sacrificial, I'm such a good person. But we just grew apart in that way, because you could only make history take you so far.
That's right.
So we were just such different people. So that was a really hard like conclusion to come to, because I think you have that pressure when you're young to be like, no, you can find your soulmate in the first try. And some people do. I did not. But all that to say, we broke up. I went through like a rough phase where I was like questioning everything, because you were with this one person for so long, and you kind of, you know, you have your kids' names picked out, you got everything picked out.
And there's that pressure of like, you know, disappointing aunts, uncles, childhood friends, where it's like, oh
or
my
their
gosh,
parents. You fall in love with their parents and their family. So then I almost felt like I had more external reasons to stay in the relationship than internal. Like, I had more reasons where I was like, well, I can't do that because then it makes it awkward for our mutual friends and everything. And I think that both of us, I can't speak for him obviously, but I think that both of us, he's now happily married as well. So someone who's much better suited for him, I assume, than I am. And that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't broken up. You know, like, I wouldn't have met Austin, the actual like perfect match for me, love of my life, if we hadn't broken up. So all that to say, I went through that season, went through like a kind of serial dating season where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm single for the first time since I was 16.
Yeah. And
I was also like freshly out of college and everything. So of course I had that phase. And then I swore off boys, because I was like, I can't, like, it was a complete whiplash from like long-term relationship to like going on first dates again. That was horrific. I had a long string of horrible first dates. And then I was actually on a social media break, and I used to take a social media break prior to working in social media every January.
Yo, they still gotta happen, you know?
I know.
I mean, like,
I would love to do it
every once in a while.
I take like weekends off now whenever I can, like, and just completely stay off of it. But I'm like, I don't think I could swing a whole month right now.
Right.
But I took January off, and I remember just being like, I'm going to reset my faith life, like get my act together, because it was bad. And it was only like it wasn't even that long that I was single. Like, looking back, I'm like, I could have probably stayed
like,
single for longer.
6-4 months.
Yeah, exactly. But when you meet the right person, you meet the right person.
Yeah.
So I was off social media. I remember logging back on February 1st, and I had this message from Austin, and he had gone to my high school, but I was a freshman when he was a senior. And the way that our ages worked, I was a young freshman and he was an old senior.
Gotcha.
So I was 14 and he was 19 in the same school. But he was like Mr. High School, Mr. Basketball, like this complete stud. I thought he was so dreamy in high school, but I was not. One, I wasn't legal.
Yeah.
But two, I was just completely not on his radar. So I saw this message from him, and I literally took a screenshot and sent it to my dad, because my dad was a big sports guy.
Yeah.
And he watched Austin all through high school, and I was like, Dad, look who messaged me. And I remember being like, I missed my shot, because he had messaged me like a week into my social media break, so I hadn't responded for 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, he's gonna have another like girlfriend by now. This is ridiculous. Though I was like, oh, how could I fumble this hard? So I messaged him back, and I tried to say something like snappy, like, oh, sorry, I fell asleep, you know. And luckily he went with it. He thought it was funny. He wasn't dating anybody else at that point, to my knowledge. So then we went out, and we just never stopped going out, and now we're married.
That's amazing.
And it was weird, because we got engaged whenever I was 21, which I know it's like.
So how long were you guys together before you got engaged?
We dated for 2 years before we got engaged.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
I was 22 when we got engaged. My timelines are so mixed up.
I don't even know I did last week.
Yeah, we were 22. I was 22 when we got engaged. We had dated for 2 years, and we got married whenever I was 23. That's correct. And I don't even know how old I am, but one of those things. And I thought that it would be weird if you would have asked me whenever I was 19 if that would be like an appropriate age to get married, and I probably would have said no. But I have always, like, I don't want to be like, I've been advanced from my, no. But by that point, like, I had been out of college for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, so I had been working full time, 9 to 5 every single day. I had been living alone since I was 17. I just was at that point. I didn't need to wait longer, you know? And
you kind of like matured and became an adult quicker than most people.
I had been self-sufficient, taking care of myself, paying my bills, you know, all of these things. And whenever I met Austin, he was 24, and we dated for 2 full years. I was like, I know this is him. Like, I've known him since the beginning. So why would I wait just for the sake of like being older, you know? Like, why can't we start our lives? And in our case, marriage has only made each of our personal lives better. So if I would have waited, it would have just been like delaying the best part of life, you know? So I hope that makes sense.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think
Thanks for asking.
That's great insight.
But I will say it's not for everyone. Like, we didn't rush into it. Like, I know we were young, but it was very intentional. Like, we waited like 2 full years to get engaged and everything else. And it was the right time. That's not the case with everyone. So I wouldn't say getting married young is just a blanket yes for everyone who's wondering.
No, that's good. And, you know, there's so much wisdom in that and knowledge and truth. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, thanks.
So before we get even deeper with it, we're going to do a little buzz round. This is like your Jeopardy type.
Allow me to whip out my notes.
Yeah. Hannah and I were discussing, and I was like, dude, like, let's have some fun with it. Let's ask some quirky questions and some deep ones, and just like kind of lightning back to each other.
I'm so ready.
Oh, okay. You want me to start?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. What is your best dating advice?
My best dating advice is that not everyone is meant to be your husband, and that's okay. I feel like you learn so much from like the best relationships and the worst relationships and the worst dates. Not every man is going to be your husband, but you can like learn about who your husband should be from every person. Like, I learned from one date that my husband had to know how to spell. I was like, he's got to know. No. And you know what? If I hadn't gone on that date, I would not have known that was I would not have known that was a deal breaker for me.
Was it like a hard word that this man couldn't spell?
No, it was just it's some dumb things. And like I just remember being like, I can't date someone, and it was partly his like texting as well.
Okay.
And I know that maybe super shallow, but I'm like, this is gonna bother me for the rest of my life. I can't deal with somebody who's gonna chronically misspell. Like,
choose your icks wisely.
Exactly. Like, he has to be literate. Like, the bar is on the floor, but. Seriously, like, sometimes you can just date to date. And I know that at some point you are dating to marry, and I don't think you should waste anyone's time. But if your intentions are the same with both people, like, you don't have to look for your husband right off the bat. Sometimes you can just enjoy being with different types of people and getting to know what you do and don't like. So just don't try and fit a not husband into the husband box. Boom. You'll find your husband, and you'll know when you find him. But
that's good.
I hope that's good advice.
I think that's good. I approve. So
yes. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Hit me with it.
Who is your celebrity crush? That's not deep at all.
Oh, okay.
I really want to know.
Oh my gosh, I have like 4. Can I say 4?
But I want them in the order, like like most aggressive crush to like most moderate.
Okay. Well, I feel like Chase Crawford from Gossip Girl would be like an amazing husband to me.
One of mine is from Gossip Girl.
Oh yes. But also Jacob Elordi, I love him. And then both the Hemsworth brothers. Like, I'll take both of them.
So we like we overlap on like the media, but none of the men.
Okay, I like it.
I'm on a big Sebastian Stan kick right now.
Oh,
and he was Carter Bazin in Gossip Girl. So we could let's just have a little girls' night and watch them in on screen.
Let's do it.
Could be great.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Okay, next question. What is the worst DM you've ever received?
Probably an inappropriate photo from a man.
That was like the first thing he said to you?
Yeah,
Did you know him or no?
No. Instagram used to not do like the messages, like general and then requests.
Oh, okay.
You would just get messages, and it would always blur them out. And I was like young and naive and hopeful and thought the world was a good place. So I remember like opening a DM, and then like the image is blurred, and I just tapped it, and it'll like half unblur it. And then I was like, wait, what is that? And I tap again. It's
like, did you know who this person was, or were they like from a different country who like also asked for your credit card information?
No, they were from here.
Okay,
but I didn't know them. I'm like, who thinks that? You know what this girl's gonna want? A picture of my junk.
Guys are so weird for that, because it's like what? How? What about that is supposed to like make me feel good?
Exactly. I'm like, that is. There's not one fiber of my being that has ever been like, I wish somebody would pull their pants down and send me a picture right now. I wish that so much. It just never, I would never ask. I don't want it. I don't want to see it. And the fact that, like, with no prior communication, nothing to like prompt it, I just got it, and I was like, A part of me died that day.
That is tough, and that's the worst. Like, you want to get a girl's attention, like, ask her for a Venmo and then send her some money.
Exactly.
Like,
if you're gonna send me something unsolicited, make it money or coffee. You can also send me that.
What's up? I'm listening to you.
There was another time though that somebody had sent me a message, and I think that they were trying to be like cute about it, and they were like, "You look like a cartoon character."
That one hits weirdly.
And I didn't respond because I'm like, "What does that mean?" And they're like, "But in like a really good way, like a cute way." Like,
yeah.
Like SpongeBob, like what does that mean?
Like, SpongeBob has some riz though.
I was like, of course my outfit right now, I'm like dressed like SpongeBob.
It's cute though.
But the way,
so
which I get, I tend to like, I don't know, I'm pretty expressive with my face. So
Same.
I don't know, maybe that's what they meant, but just whenever I opened it and they're like, you look like a cartoon character.
I can see like Disney Channel, but
Well,
I can
thank
definitely
you.
see myself on Disney.
But you also like,
too.
you read it and I'm like, you assume the worst. You
Yeah.
think that they're talking about like Timmy Turner or something.
Timmy Turner.
I'm like, well, thanks. I don't know what to make of that, but needless to say.
One of my worst DMs, I think, actually happened last year, and it was, I'm gonna call this man out. I don't even care. It was like some guy, and they were trying to set me up with him. And I just wanted to go on a date, so I was like, whatever. But he finally messaged me on Facebook, and then he was like, hey, so my mom keeps bothering me to reach out to you, so I was wondering like if you'd like to hang out sometime. And then he proceeded to plan this date of him coming over to my house and bringing food. And I was like, I don't even know if you're cute. Like what?
What if I die?
And I was like, so basically you're telling me you're only messaging me because your mom is bothering,
Red flag, red flag,
like,
red flag.
What's that sports store on Battlefield?
Fast break.
No, it's not like All
What is it?
American, but it's like
Play it again.
Play it again. Like, play it again right out of all the red flags because
Yep.
this man owns them,
Yep.
because that's ridiculous. That's crazy.
The thing is, if a man mentions his mom without being prompted to, and like probably the first 3 dates,
Yeah.
that is an issue. Just because they should love their mom, but they shouldn't be bringing her up.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a natural conversation, just trust me on that one. Like if they're gonna come up, oh my mom this, why? First of all, why?
Interesting.
Why is she coming up this early?
I'm like, does your mom and dad have a lake house? Because I'll
Yeah.
come on your boat. But like,
Exactly. that
the fact
changes
that
everything.
your mom told me to go,
Yes.
you go out with me is not.
If they're
the
bringing
vibe.
up their mom to say, "Oh, my mom wants you to come on the boat," that is a whole other question.
Yeah, I'll hang out with your mom on the boat.
Yes,
but,
exactly,
like-
exactly. Just watch out for that little sneaky red flag.
Yeah, the pink one. Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite physical trait about yourself and your favorite personality trait about yourself?
Oh my gosh, Hannah, what the questions? She is a podcast host. So.
I did prepare them right before.
Love. A favorite physical trait. I love my. I actually really like my lips. I really like them.
You have like nice lips, nice
Thank
cupid
you.
bow.
My sister used to make fun of my bottom lip, but then all of a sudden, big lips became a thing. But I love lipstick. That's why COVID was hard for me, because the whole mask. So I do like my lips a lot.
You have good eyebrows too, though. You have like intense eyebrows. I love them.
You're so sweet.
If you weren't like super smiley, you could be really scary because you've got like, this
I get
powerful
that.
brows.
I get the. I've had random people be like, you have like an RBF, right?
I like it.
And I'm like, well,
I like it a lot.
I'm Hispanic, so it's not the only thing I have. But I'm just and you said personality thing
Yes.
that I like. I think I like. Honestly, I kind of like how I'm not afraid to talk to strangers. Like, I like how I can pull up to things alone, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm not really worried because I'll just make friends there. And I
love
think
that.
that's kind of a weird
That's huge
trait, but
and rare.
I'm grateful for it.
That's super rare. No, I love that.
Okay, what's yours?
Ooh, I could have thought through my own answers, I guess. I feel like my favorite physical trait is probably my natural hair.
Slay.
Because it took me a long time to like it. And whenever I was growing up, so my natural hair is red. You can't really tell because my roots are like growing in really dark now because I've been weathered with the the stress of life. So it's not red anymore. And I do dye it blonde. But it used to be like red, super curly, and I had like the worst acne growing up, and my parents would tease me, and like I used to get made fun of because people would say I look like Shaun White, the snowboarder. And it took a toll, and it took me so long to get to the point where I could wear my hair curly and not feel insecure about it. Part of it was hitting puberty and just looking like a girl, kind of, but it took me a long time to like welcome it, embrace it, and then whenever I finally did, I was like, oh, I love it. Like it took me a good decade to come around, but I did. So now I'm having this like summer where I'm trying really hard to embrace my natural hair and like wear it as many ways as I can, and not torch the life out of it with heat. and it's been really good for my hair, but also for my soul and my personality to like love it again. But personality wise, I don't know. I feel like one of the things that I like being complimented on the most is when people say I'm like funny or witty, because I don't know. I like it. I like to make people laugh.
You're a funny girl.
Yeah. Thank you. You're filling my cup over here.
That's what we do over here. We just keep refilling each other's.
No, you have some.
Yeah, you have some. No, you. One thing about me is that I don't play games unless it's ping pong at Classics Yard. Classics Yard is Springfield's #1 social sport and game center. It is located in the back of Classic Rock Coffee Company headquarters and next door to the Riff. Coffee, sports, music, what more could you want? Located at 1900 West Sunset Street in Springfield, Missouri. Be sure to check them out, play some games, and reserve your event today. Visit www.classicsyard.com. Yeah. Okay, so last question of Buzz Round. Okay. I'll ask one more, you ask one more, and then we'll get back more into the mean stuff. When you were single, what was the way that you would slide on men? Whether it's like a DM or like what was your move, you know?
I feel like this is layered. Okay, so if I'm like going out with my friends, right?
Okay.
And we're all single.
Like you're not asking a guy out or whatnot.
No, it's in the eyes.
Oh.
Like at the risk of sounding like, I can get someone to come talk to me with like a look.
Okay.
And maybe it's like just a really intense look. Maybe I just look really weird. But I swear, if I'm like, I can get that guy to come over and talk to us and he's going to pay for our drinks. Like, I won't say anything. It's like in the eyes. Also,
Is it like some like sassy looking, like, what, do you roll your eyes backwards or what do you?
I can't like do it.
Blink 4 times?
It's almost just like a little like doe-eyed, like
dang, okay.
eyes. Okay. And it's not failed me before. So, but I also think that men have a weird like fetishization of red hair.
They do.
For a long time I've had really, really red hair. So I don't want to say it's that either, but I think that it's almost like
makes you stick out.
Yeah. So I think that might be part of it. But then whenever I do talk to guys, like I wouldn't say anything super like specific that I would do, but I would always just try and like be memorable, like be funny, be like a little off the wall. And I have kind of a dry sense of humor. So like whenever you talk to somebody, you say something that's completely out of left field, then it's kind of like, I don't know. So, and then I just basically just wait for them to to like me. So if there wasn't, I'm not saying I had like crazy game. I'm saying I can get a guy to pay for my drinks in a bar. So as far as my husband, he came to me. So as far as making like meaningful connection, I don't know if I have any skill set for that.
I'm dead.
Wait, I do have a good one though. Whenever I was single, I used to, this is psychotic.
Tell us.
So on Spotify, I would be super bored at work. I'd have Spotify pulled up on my work.
You creep on the men's Spotify?
I would I don't know if you can now because I don't look, but you could see what people are listening to, like what song. So I would have all like my roster on like Spotify, of course, like because you're friends on Facebook.
I'm done.
And like say, oh, Morgan's listening to this one song. I would text her and be like, you know what song reminds me of you? And of course, I'm talking about a man in this situation. I would hit on Morgan though, for the record. But
I hit on you back.
I'd be like, oh my gosh, you know what song reminds me of you? Like I was just listening to it and it makes me think of you. And they'd be like, what? And I would tell them the song that they were just listening to. Girl, the number of minds that were blown, they thought it was like a cosmic connection.
I'm dead.
And they were like baffled. Thought it was in the freaking stars.
I've done that though. Like,
do it.
I love the psychoness. I love it.
They're not gonna know. What do they think? I'm just like looking at Spotify on 2 p.m. on a Tuesday on my work computer. I was. No one needs to know.
Girls be doing their research. Like I used to go through Twitter likes, and I'd be like, and then I would.
That's a good one too.
I'd hang out with a guy, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, the Alabama game was crazy.
Oh my gosh, I love the Bruins. Wow, I love hockey.
Oh my gosh, did you hear Drake's new album?
Listen,
I know it was kind of like.
Sometimes men just need to like they have that little push to know that like okay, I'm here. I'm your soulmate actually. So.
Right. No, I think I'm very similar, but also I'm so bad because if I want it, I just go get it, which is like not right though, because I like need to be pursued. But there's so many times I'll just like go up to guys and I'll be like, play me in ping pong.
Amazing.
College, that was like how I always got like guys alone. I'd be like, well, just go play me in ping pong.
That's if any man saw me doing anything that required like hand-eye coordination, they would lose interest. They'd be like, that woman is not going to have my kids. We cannot have that. So my strategy was the exact opposite of yours. You would go up to them. I would not. I would sit right on my little stool and just until they came over.
They're both amazing. They're different tactics.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're married, I'm not.
Well, I didn't use that one on him.
I'm dead.
He came straight to me. He swam right up. Okay, last question for you.
Okay.
Was there anybody that you looked up to or wanted to be when you grew up? Like fictional, not fictional, anybody like that?
Honestly, I looked up to Sadie Robertson a lot when I was a teenager, for sure. Obviously, there's like women who I've thought are super beautiful and whatnot. But I don't know, I was just like really encouraged by her, and I thought she was just really cool. So I guess she would probably be mine.
That's a really good answer.
What about you?
Princess Leia.
Love!
No, whenever I've saw
the space buns right now.
I mean, not me being influenced by her at 24. I remember seeing Star Wars for the first time, and she was like so sassy and like stood up to these men, and she's like this little petite woman, and just like.
This is why you have a man, is because you dig Star Wars, and I don't.
I'm into the weirdest, like, in not even a cute way. Like I just be nerding out and everything.
Yeah,
but I
amazing.
Loved her, and she's just like a force to be reckoned with, and I was like, I'm gonna be that, but not in space. So
there we go.
And here we are.
There we go. So to transition a little bit, Hannah, which we'll come back on some of the corporate stuff a little bit later. But when Hannah and I got dinner a couple weeks ago, I was kind of telling her my story a little bit and some of the body stuff I've gone through in the past. So just talking about body image for a second, and then when you mentioned the question you just asked in the buzz round, which I hope you guys like that. Shout out to the buzz round. Yeah, buzz round was a vibe. We're shaking it up.
I love it.
It's all a learning experience. But when you asked the question, like, what do you like about yourself, and externally and internally, I think that was really huge, because something I was thinking about a couple weeks ago was in college. I was just talking to my sister too about like what the body standard is right now.
Yeah.
And right now I feel like Ozempic is very popular.
Oh, yeah.
Skinny is really in.
Which is like a nightmare. Like,
which is,
so,
you know.
I'm not built like super lean. Well, okay. I'm not built super skinny, if that makes sense. Like I'm only 5'3", barely. And I've always been like more on the muscular side when I work out. Like I don't get long legs, and like
But you're amazing.
But if I get toned, I get like bulky, you know, like muscular. So I've always been insecure about that, and I used to actually do weightlifting whenever I was younger, and it made me feel like super insecure at first until I was like, who cares? Like I don't care if I'm like too muscular or anything else, but seeing that super skinny coming all the way back around is like a weird triggering thing, because it's like it was trending for a long time in the 2000s, and then it went away, and then it was like, oh, she's thick, and that was good, and I was like, that's amazing. And now we're coming back around to like super skinny everything, and there's just no healthy way to achieve that.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because, like, I grew up with stomach issues and, like, a very fast metabolism and, like, a body type that was pretty much just, like, exactly like my grandma's, like, very much genetic. And I was never, like, I didn't think about my body. That's not what I was insecure about. I was insecure about other things. And then I got to college, and I felt like a kid compared to everyone else. Like, thick was in, having, you know, big boobs, big butt was the vibe. And I just, like, I don't think I realized how much I was like, I don't love my body, and I feel like I'm not as cute or pretty as like this friend of mine. She gets all the guys, and it was a journey having to, really get to a place where you accept your body for what it is. Like if you're unhappy, like you can be in the gym, you can eat healthy, you can do whatever you want, you can make a lifestyle change, but ultimately, like I think you have to love who you are. You really do.
Yeah,
and that's why. Now, it's not realistic for me to eat 1 million grams of protein and whatnot, because I have like diet restrictions, but also I'm like, I'm going to be in the gym. I have goals, but also like I'm going to be overall healthy, and I'm not, I love who I am right now. And 4 years ago, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's always like a hard fought battle whenever you can look yourself in the mirror and not pick apart the first thing that you see.
Yeah.
And for me, I had been up and down. Like I've had physical insecurities my whole life. Obviously we all have. But whenever I started dating Austin, he had this like long string of beautiful exes. Like every single girl that he had dated was just drop dead gorgeous, and they were all like somewhat local. So of course I can see them out. Yeah. I'm like comparing myself to them. They're all, I'm like, why did you have to date models? This is not fair. So that kind of honestly sent me into a spiral. And I hate to say that, because you shouldn't compare yourself. And Austin never made me feel anything but loved. But you know how you want, I know how I am as a woman. Like I want to be
same queen.
Oh, it's tough. I wish I could say I was above that, but I wasn't. And I was super susceptible because I cared about him so much and I loved him. And I was like, I don't want to be a downgrade for him, like in the most shallow sense, but also I wanted to be good enough for him, like in every single way. Yeah. So then I took that and like completely like went 180 degrees from my healthy previous mentality whenever he found me and started to like me, made it the complete opposite. I was like working out every single day, twice a day. I would go to spin class before work. I would go work out after work. It was like actually taking a toll on our relationship, because I would spend more time in the gym than with him, and the whole purpose was basically for him. And it got to this point where I was fasting, which trigger warning for anyone who struggles with this, but I was saying I was fasting, but I was really just skipping a day of eating. Like I would say I'm doing this, like I'm doing a fast, and I would eat dinner on Monday night, and then I would eat again until like lunch on Wednesday. Like I would, and I dropped so much weight. I lost my period. I wasn't healthy at all. I look back and there are pictures of me. Like Austin, I took one photo where he's like kind of holding my hands and taking a picture from behind, and you could see my rib cage in my back. Like I was losing muscle tone, and I would get such crippling anxiety whenever he would want to go out to eat, and I'm like, what am I going to eat there? Like, what am I going to do? Are they going to have a salad? Like, where do we go? And it was almost like everyone around me that was close to me knew I was struggling. And then it added more pressure because I felt like I had to be secretive and like, okay, well, they have to see me eat or they're going to be on my case. But then when can I go work out? Like, it was such a negative time for me. And I spiraled so hard. And it took a lot of like heart-to-heart conversations with Austin and people closest to me to remind me, like, this is not good for you. Like, you don't look better when you're suffering and like you're miserable. And I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't make plans with girls because everything involved food or involved like a coffee or something else. And then I'm like going home to run at 10 o'clock at night because I have to go run off this food. Like it took such a toll on my mental health and my social life and my relationship and everything. And I slowly but surely like overcame that and got back to my normal self and everything. And then I had another round of like crazy body issues whenever I went off of birth control, whenever I got married. And I had been on birth control since I was like 16, and I went off of it a couple months into our marriage, not because we're trying to have a baby, but just because I've been on it for such a long time. Yeah. And I gained 30 pounds in like a month immediately. And they had warned me that could happen. Like you either gain or lose weight whenever you go off of birth control. And since I had been on it since like puberty basically, then I gained a ton of weight. And it was hard because I was already a pretty active person. So I was eating fairly healthy and I was working out a couple times a week already. So whenever I gained all that weight, I was like, what can I change? I'm already doing what I should be doing. I just gained the weight. So then that took me probably the entire like first year of our marriage to lose. And that was really hard because you're a new wife and you like all the chaos of the wedding and everything is calming down. And I was super busy with my business kind of growing. So I didn't have as much time to dedicate to myself. So I felt very unhealthy then. And then I finally leveled back out. Like this has probably been this is over a 4-year period. So now I'm finally at a good place where I'm working out. I'm not counting calories. I don't weigh myself.
That's good.
I took the freaking batteries out of my scale. We have it just in case, but mainly for suitcases when we're going to the airport. Period. But I don't weigh myself. I don't know. It's not my business. If I go to the doctor, I'm like looking over here. Like I don't need to know. And I wear my Apple Watch just because I don't know. It feels wrong to not wear it, but I'm not tracking calories. I'm eating what I want to eat. I don't restrict anything. I try and eat healthy for like the nutrition. But the thing that I still come back to and struggle with is that if I look at myself in the mirror, I know how much like thinner I have been, you know? So like I can compare myself because it's not like a hypothetical. I know I've had an 8-pack before. Yeah, I wasn't eating, but like I know that my body is capable of looking like that. And it's so easy to look back and romanticize how you looked and forget about how miserable you were. So I think that's the main like issue that I still struggle with, is that I'll look at myself and be like, I've looked, quote, like I didn't, but I've been so much fitter than this. I've looked better than this. I've been skinnier, whenever that was not a healthy time for me. So it's kind of hard to remind yourself, like, even though you are capable of being that small, it's not good for you. So
what do you personally do to captive those thoughts that come into your brain? I
try and remind myself how miserable it was, like how awful everything in my life was because I was being so restrictive. And there's so many small moments that are good whenever you're not trying to control what you eat. Like Austin and I, if we're, coming home at night and we're like, let's go get some ice cream, we'll go get some ice cream. Like we'll pack up our little selves in our pajamas and go to Brahms and get some ice cream. And we like have the windows down and listen to music and do all those things, when previously that wouldn't have been possible for me, because the whole time I would have just been thinking about, how am I going to, like, what's the smallest thing I can get? Maybe I can get a frozen yogurt. When am I going to be able to run? When can I do this? And then I would be focusing on when I could make up for what I ate, Yeah. And then it ruins the memory, because the whole time he's not having fun because I'm freaking out. I'm being, it does taint everything. And I think the memories that I've been able to make, not just surrounding food, but like without that restriction around food, that helps me keep those thoughts at bay.
And, Hannah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I know it's difficult to be vulnerable, and I really appreciate you just sharing your heart. And I know stuff like that is so difficult. And I know from my side, I had a puking problem, but it was from, anxiety and mental health. And so when I look in the mirror, sometimes I'm like, I remember how skinny I was, and I don't ever want to get to that point where like I literally continuously being sick. But something that, and most of you guys know not to get like preachy with it or whatever. Obviously, I just got back from a church camp, but one of the speakers there had crippling OCD for 13 years. That literally she couldn't do anything without her mind like absolutely destroying everything for her. And so something is, we're made in the image of God, and like God tells us who we are, and like the more we learn about him, the more we learn about ourselves. And so, it's so hard handling those thoughts that come into our brain. And like for me, every single day, if I don't spend time with God or like literally in the word constantly every day, I just feel like I lack, or I have anxiety, or I'm not good enough, I'm behind, I'm the single one that doesn't know what I'm doing. Like it's so easy to let like one thought of like, oh well, you didn't look like this 3 years ago, or like your friend's not eating. Like it's just so easy to let something like that derail you for months. And and it's crazy how words hurt. And even one of my really good friends, we did an eating disorder episode, and she, like just one thought, a couple comments a kid makes when you're in middle school can have just like the biggest impact. And so, as you're listening to this, I encourage you that, take captive of your thoughts. Don't let those rule your life, and really,
and know your triggers. Like know what tips you off to start those episodes, because I know certain things, like whenever I start to think about like, oh, I'll just skip lunch tomorrow, I'm like, no, I will not. So I know the little things where it's like very innocuous at first, it's harmless, it's just one thing here and there, but I know whenever I start to think about those things and like get back into this like calorie tracking restrictive mindset, or like over exercising, all of that stuff, then I'm like, that's a slippery slope. And my husband looks out for it too. He's very diligent, almost to the point that he's not able to understand that sometimes I'm just not hungry, because he's very, even now I've been, beyond that part of my life for probably 3 years. That's awesome. If I don't finish my food, he's like, you need to finish that. Finish the chicken breast. Yeah. And he's like bargaining with me like I'm a child. And then I have to be like, okay, listen, I'm good. I just don't want to finish the chicken breast. That's it. So we're at a good place, but he's very protective of that side.
That's awesome.
Just because, it's sometimes hard to be objective whenever you're thinking about yourself, because you see yourself so differently sometimes that other people see you.
Absolutely. It's really important to, like, if you're not doing okay, like tell a friend, ask for, accountability, or be like, hey, I'm going through this. And it breaks my heart, especially coming back from that church camp, just like in my life too, and comparing myself to other girls or whatnot. I know a couple years ago for me, that was super hard. There was a season where I literally was like, I compare myself to every single woman. I don't even I don't even know how to like women as a friend. And so
that's tough.
It's crazy. And just the social media hold, like people who are 19 years old wanting to be on Ozempic to lose weight, like that is so much wrong with our society, and like with social media and TikTok, thinking that that's normal, and it's not.
Exactly.
And so I don't know. I think Hannah and I are just we're sitting here, we're chilling on this couch, we're chopping it up, but it's like, as myself, as a 24-year-old, the best advice that I can give for this is like, create boundaries for yourself. You know yourself. So if you're like, okay, this is getting in a position where I just need to unfollow for my own mental health. I just need to set a boundary. I can't go to this place. I can't do this because it physically is not okay for my body. Like, that's a logical answer for something.
Well, that's one thing that I really, it completely revolutionized my health journey. Was I was always following these girls on Pinterest and Instagram and everything, and I was pinning these girls that are like 5'9", and they're built differently than me. So no matter how many miles I run, no matter how many crunches I do, no matter how many leg lifts or whatever, I'm not gonna look like that girl. I'm not built like her. Like, I'm 5'3", and I tend to just put on muscle easier. So that's just not realistic. So whenever I cleansed my whole social media and started following girls who are built like me, who I have the potential to look like, it's so much more reassuring, because it's actually an attainable goal where you can be motivated by somebody, but not, it's in the realm of my possibility. And also, don't compare yourself in the first place. Like, if you have to, of course, find women who you identify with that look like you as much as you can, so that you don't, like, if I'm looking at Kendall Jenner, I'm never going to be happy with myself, So that's a huge thing.
Internally, Kendall Jenner ain't somebody you want to be either.
That's true. Very true. No. I mean, we all want those long legs.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but it just is like, also, if there's people in your life that you struggle to follow, mute them. Like that. It was such a simple thing, but it was like a light bulb moment for me, where I realized I was like, I can mute someone and still like them. Because sometimes it's just like, I like you a lot. I like to see you in person. If I saw you, I'd hug you. But every single picture that you post is making me dislike something about myself, think thoughts that I don't want to think, like, or be judgmental, like whatever it happens to be, you can mute somebody. If it's causing you to think unhealthy things about yourself or about them or about anybody else, mute them. They're not going to know. It's okay. Just do it.
Yeah.
Trust me. It's so much better for your mind.
No, that's great. And also, I think, you know, like, let God's voice be the biggest one in your life.
Yes.
And, you know, he made you beautiful. So when I hear, like, how you talk to yourself matters.
Yeah.
Truly, when you're in the mirror, when you're prepping for a sales meeting, like, whatever you're doing in your life, you know, do not let that, what's the thing, imposter syndrome, or like, you know, like, oh, you're not good enough, you're not beautiful enough. Like, no, you were made with a purpose and you're amazing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't know. So I think it's hard. It's hard to walk in it sometimes and believe it, but it's facts. And we're 24, so like what we say, like, you guys, you have to believe everything we say.
We know everything.
We're so experienced.
We've been through literally every situation ever.
So we're slowly running out of time, but I just want to hit a few more things.
Yes.
Okay, obviously you own your company and you are a party of one. Do you ever feel isolated in your job?
All the time. Yes. So it's been like a journey. At the beginning, I felt isolated because I felt like I was the only person doing what I was doing. And it was good because it allowed me to like get a foothold in the industry, because it hadn't really taken over in Springfield yet because we're so behind the curve on trends. So I felt alone, but in a good way. Alone because I didn't have anyone to ask for help. Like, what should I do? Everything from like, how much should I be charging? What should I be doing? How should I structure my days? What software? Like, there was not really a lot of resources for me to use and no one whose brain I could pick. So that was very isolating at the time. And then I was lucky to have a good support system. So I will say I've always had a good group of people around me cheering for me. But then it got to a point where whenever I was picking up some steam, then I had a bunch of people that we on my podcast call swagger jackers.
Ooh.
So people who just like basically copy what you're doing, and people that would do everything from like literally copy text from my website to use on theirs, like copy my Instagram post and start their own business, which would compete with mine. So then I felt really alone because I felt like I was on the defensive all the time. Like, here I am just doing my best to stay in my lane and work, and people are ripping it off for their own gain to then compete with me and like undercut my pricing. So that made me feel alone. And then I feel like there's this weird pivotal point where everyone's cheering for you for so long. Everyone's like, you can do this. I believe in you. You're going to be amazing. And then at some point that flips to like passive aggression, and not from everyone, but there's a lot of little things that I've seen in relationships in my life that everyone is cheering for you up until you kind of get to that plateau, like that good point where now your life is fun. Like, now you get to do all these cool things, or now you might have fewer financial issues or whatever it happens to be. Then there are always those relationships that flip where it's like they wanted you to be successful, or they wanted your business to take off, and then now that it has, they're not so happy for you anymore. And that is very alienating as well. So I definitely have felt that many times in my life.
Yeah.
Even just down to like the simple thing of I miss having coworkers. Like, I love my job. I would not trade it in a million years, but I still think back to like whenever I worked at the bank and you just have people that you have common interests with that you get to see every single day. I loved all my coworkers. Like, the last group that I worked with, I was so enamored with. Like, every single one of us were so different, but we had so much fun at our boring little job. So I feel lonely in that way too sometimes.
So, are you part of any like networking groups and stuff like that where you can collaborate with other owners and stuff like that?
I was, but now I honestly get most of my socializing through my clients, like through my meetings with them. So because my job is social, I get a lot of that from them. And sometimes I'll just like, linger a little extra to get that coworker fix. But a lot of my clients are so welcoming that they'll invite me to their Christmas parties and all their staff events and everything. So I still get to feel like I'm part of a team, and just being in the circle that I'm in with my clients and their friends and other connections I've made, that has kind of served as the networking for me. So I still get socialized.
No, it's amazing. Okay, 2 really fast questions, and then I'm going to end the way that we always do. Okay, so you're like, okay, well, what's your long-term dream? But like, can you, how do you ask that? And then you're like, okay, we'll answer in like in a really short way. Like,
well, I think my long-term dream is honestly pretty simple. I want to have a happy, balanced life. Like, I am an extremist. It's really hard for me. It's hard for me not to go 100% in to anything that I do. And right now, I actually feel like I'm in a really good balanced place where I'm not so into any one thing. It's taking over my life. Like, I'm loving work. I'm working hard, but I also will go to the pool midday if I can.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read a book. I'm going to enjoy myself. And I can work out, but I'm not going crazy with that. And like, I feel like I'm in a really good balanced place where I'm motivated and I'm working hard, but I also am not letting that consume me. And I'm not thinking about work and money and all those things every waking second. Like, that's what I want. I want to have financial security for my family. I want to have a life that makes me feel fulfilled. I want to do good and be a good friend.
Yeah.
And I just want to have a good balance. Like, that's my real long-term goal. And I have, like, of course, like, specific things like, oh, it'd be great to have this big house and have this. But I also know enough from, like, my short time in social media and this journey. Like, if God wants something different for you, he's going to do it. Yeah, that's right. So I don't want to say, like, oh, I want to grow my business to this point and sell it and do all that. That would be amazing. But I also know that a curveball could be coming at any minute. So I just want those things for my life.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Speaking of curveballs, have you implemented AI into your marketing at all? And are you scared of AI? AI is artificial intelligence, and it's huge right now in the marketing world.
Have you seen the Avengers movie, Age of Ultron?
Maybe.
It's basically where AI...
I like Thor because it's Chris Hemsworth, but then they had like Big Thor, and then I was like, what? But I mean, no hate, but I was like, I love Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just not like.
Well, it's funny.
Into all that stuff.
Girl, I'm into it enough for both of us. Don't worry. But there's one movie where AI like comes to life basically and tries to take over the world and erase the human population. So that is, of course, the fear. Like, and everyone's seen those movies. Like, there's so many cautionary tales about it. But I also know if we don't get on the board, like, we're going to get left behind. So if you don't learn how to use it to benefit you, like, it might take over. But also, what am I going to do about it? Like, look at me. What am I going to do about it? You want me to deprogram AI? I can't do any of that. So if I can use it to make my life and my job a little bit more streamlined, of course I'm going to use it. So I don't use it for a lot. I've done little things like automating processes and maybe copywriting here and there, but I still want most of my work to be very personal. Right. So I use it, I dabble, but I haven't found a way to replace like my process, I guess. So. Which,
maybe you're not supposed to,
I mean, it's job security for me. If AI can't think like I think, that is job security. So hopefully it does not learn.
Absolutely. Well, Hannah, as I like to end every show, please tell us your favorite song, favorite quote, and what you like your legacy to be. Okay. Which, obviously, the song, if it's not like a lifelong favorite, it could be like literally what you listened to before you came over here. So.
Okay. I have been on a big like Paramore kick recently.
Oh my gosh, I love Paramore.
I loved them my whole life. I've been like Hayley Williams. I want to be her whenever I grow up.
This vibe is like Paramore.
Maybe that's why. Maybe I'm
not like SpongeBob. You're giving Paramore.
Thank you. That's a dream. No, I remember in 7th grade, I was in the bathroom and some girl was like, "You look like Hayley Williams." I did not. For the record, I did not. I know I did not.
That's so
But
funny.
she said it was because I had red hair, and I went home and I was like, "Who is Hayley Williams?" I went on probably a 2-year-long obsession with her. I wanted to be her so bad. But anywho, I've recently come full circle. I'm listening to a lot of their stuff, like their older, like really pop punk. Yeah. So on the way over here, I was listening to For a Pessimist, I'm Pretty Optimistic, just screaming. Yes. And I know at some stoplights, people were like, "Girl, are you okay?" I'm not. I'm just having a good time.
Just like, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. I was just jamming. I was having I mean, why not?
Absolutely, as you should.
Okay, and the other questions. Okay.
Quote.
My favorite quote is always, and I have so many Bible verses that I love, but I can never narrow them down. But my favorite quote is, "This too shall pass." And it's because whenever I'm going through something very hard and challenging, it's good to remind myself, like, this is going to end. Every single trial that I've been going through always comes to an end. There's always another day. Like, it will pass, whether it's a day, a week, a month, whatever. Always comes to an end. And then I also like to remind myself whenever I'm in these good, happy seasons, like, this is going to pass too. Like, this season, like, even with my husband and I right now, this is going to pass. Like, we're going to have a family one day, and with these moments with just the two of us, it's going to be gone. So same thing with my friendships. Like, my friends are going to have kids. They're going to move away. People are going to evolve. And like, my life is never going to be this set of circumstances again. So I like to remind myself, like, this is going to pass. So then it makes me like really grip onto it.
Kind of sad.
I know, but
also,
it makes me live in the moment, and like cherish it more too. So it gives me hope, but it also gives me perspective.
That's awesome. Okay, and what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, I mean, I feel like it's similar to what I want out of my life. Like, I want to be a dependable friend. Like, I want to be somebody that everyone knows they can call, like, when they're going to the hospital, whenever they're having news, whenever they're upset. Like, I want to be that friend to my people, and I want to like love people as hard as I can. Yeah. Even if it means that I get hurt sometimes, which it does. And I want to be known as somebody who doesn't like leave anything on the table. Like I want to work the hardest.
I love that.
Not squander any blessings that my life has given me. So
that's good.
I don't know if that counts as a legacy, but like
I think it does.
If someone was giving my eulogy and they said those things, I would be happy.
Aww. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me. This was the best.
You're so fun. This was such a fun episode.
No,
Good
this is
vibes
amazing.
tonight.
No,
We're
you're
gonna go
fantastic.
like hang out after this.
Want to get a burger?
Yes.
I would love to get a burger.
So to my listeners, you guys, thank you for being consistent. I mean, we've been in this for a year and a half. There's ups and downs. There's episodes that are so fun like this, and there's episodes like the last solo pod where you're like, dang, Morgan, you need a tissue. Like, it happens. And it's, it can be slow growth, but it's growth. Growth is still growth. So I'm really excited for the rest of the summer and what's going to go on. We have almost our new merch design finalized, but who knows when those are going to drop. So you guys better be patient. But yeah, so I'm just really excited and really grateful. And yeah, you guys just have the best week ever. And remember to live, laugh, love. Okay. Bye.
Bye.